Welcome to another Fantasy Goodfellas video where we talk about the top 15 tight end rankings for week 4. Richard, you ready?
Let's do it.
The Fantasy Goodfellas.
Boom, boom, boom.
Rolling on the field.
The Fantasy Goodfellas.
All right, before we get started, Richard, tell me how you did on last week's rankings.
Okay, if we take out both Dalton Schultz and Taysom Hill, who didn't play, again, we do these rankings early in the week. We hit on 7 of 13 tight ends, which again, in the tight end landscape, decent. We missed on Darren Waller, Pat Freiermuth, Gerald Everett, Mike Gesicki, Dawson Knox, and Hayden Hurst.
All right, well, let's see if we can better it this week. Before we get started, I always like to remind you what you should expect in our videos. Richard's going to give his rankings. I'm going to use our stat machine to see if you agree or disagree with each of his rankings. And hopefully, it'll help you set up your own lineups. All right, Richard, line them up.
At number 1, we have Mark Andrews, home against Buffalo. Tough defense, but again, we have Mark Andrews number 1 last week, and he was the number 1 tight end. Lamar Jackson's looking great. At number 2, we have Travis Kelce, who will be at Tampa Bay. Tough defense. But Kelce also Mahomes' number 1 target. He was tight end 3 in week 3. At number 3, we have Kyle Pitts, home against Cleveland. Kyle Pitts showed some signs of life. They were obviously targeting him. I think the trend will continue. You have to use your best players. At number 4, Darren Waller, home against Denver. Darren Waller didn't make the top 15 in week 3. Derek Carr, again, He likes to spread it around. Devontae Adams' numbers are a little down. So are Darren Waller's. But hopefully, we know Waller's awesome. Hopefully, they look for him more in week 4. At number 5, Dallas Goedert, home against Jacksonville. It's a decent matchup, even though Jacksonville looked fantastic in week 3. But I still think it's a good matchup for Philadelphia. Philadelphia's looked amazing. Jalen Hurts has looked amazing. We have to put Goedert here. At number 6, Zach Ertz at Carolina. Arizona has been subpar so far. Kyler Murray has been as well, but Zach Ertz, he's been looking Zach Ertz's way. So as Arizona, as that offense starts to get it together, Zach Ertz's numbers will continue to be better. At number 7, TJ Hockenson, home against Seattle. This is a good matchup for Detroit, and that Detroit offense, Jared Goff, they've been putting up numbers. Hockenson had his best game of the year in week 3. We think that trend will continue. At number 8, Pat Freiermuth will be home against the Jets. What can you say? Great matchup, and that's why we have him ranked here. Trubisky has been terrible, but Freiermuth has been consistent. At number 9, Tyler Higbee at San Francisco. Higbee just barely made the top 15 in week 3. We had him barely in the top 15, so he's just about right. So this week we got him a little higher. We expect him to do a little better. At number 10, George Kittle, home against the Rams. Kittle did not make the top 15, but they're trying to build him back into that offense. Garoppolo didn't look very good in week 3. We think, obviously, that's going to get better with more games, and so will Kittle's performances. At number 11, Tyler Conklin at Pittsburgh. Tyler Conklin of the Jets, really? Hey, he had 8 targets in week 3. At number 12, Gerald Everett at Houston. This is a good matchup. Everett didn't make the top 15 this last week, but it's a good matchup, and we think Justin Herbert's numbers will improve. At number 13, Dawson Knox at Baltimore. I continue to put Dawson Knox in my top 15 because of Josh Allen. Josh Allen is awesome. All Dawson Knox needs is 1 touchdown. At number 14, Mike Gesicki at Cincinnati. Gesicki only had 1 reception in week 3, but they were playing Buffalo. This week, they played Cincinnati on Thursday night. I think it'll be way more open. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Gesicki will be more involved, and that Miami offense is very good. At number 15, David Njoku at Atlanta. It's a good matchup, and we saw what Njoku just did against the Steelers. We saw this last year from Njoku. He'd show up a game or 2 and then disappear. Hopefully this is not the trend, but for now, we're going to put him at 15.
All right, I don't really have that much issues with any of your rankings. The only thing I might see is Tyler Conklin is not ranked, and Mike Gesicki is not ranked in some other rankings. Any thoughts on that?
Well, like I said, Tyler Conklin, a lot of people, he's not going to be included. He's with the Jets and really hasn't been on the radar until this last game where he had 8 targets. So we'll see if that trend continues. The Jets, like Flacco he's been slinging the ball. So when we see that in a tight end, we got to follow through. With Mike Gesicki, he's just in a great offense. And we saw that touchdown he caught in week 2. We know he's a playmaker. We'll see what happens in week 4 with him.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on here and sharing your top 15 tight end rankings for week 4. Any parting words you have for anybody out there?
No, just good luck in week 4.
The Fantasy Goodfellas.
Rolling on the field.
The Fantasy Goodfellas.